Welcome to Minecraft. Today we are settling into something a little different. Cuboid Outpost Luxury Edition. A factory, an outpost, a home. For the next few weeks, this place is going to be everything. The goal? 100% completion. Every quest, every optional challenge. There's a quest book to guide us, but we're skipping the tutorials at the bottom. This isn't our first rodeo after all. Instead, we are diving straight into the real work, crafting, optimizing, and maybe even turning this cold, empty world into something that actually feels alive. So if you do like this kind of thing, maybe consider subscribing. Just a thought. So without any further hesitation, let's dive in and explore our new accommodation. The outpost is small, but it has everything that we need. A simple AE2 system, and some early machines to jumpstart our progression. The wind turbines outside drawing in just enough power to keep things running. It's not much, but it's a start. There's a small amount of energy storage to get us through those dark nights. Then finally we have a small bedroom through here. Looking at the quests, this is a very crafting heavy mod pack, which is part of its charm. But we must of course start with the first quest. And while I may not include much of the quest book moving forward, just know that this is what we're going to be working through. In our terminal we will find a shovel. We can use this to break through the snow layer outside and reveal the not so goodium ore. Mining this with our pickaxe will give us some not so goodium pieces, carbon deposits and silica dust. We can also use ultimine to make mining this much easier, breaking up to a stack of blocks at a time. With our pieces, if we hover over them and press Shift and K, it's going to auto-combine them into chunks for us. We can pop those into the redstone furnace to get smelted into not-so-goodium ingots. The carbon deposits will compress into coal. 2 not-so-goodium ingots will make a rod, which we can then combine with said coal to make some torches. Next we can make up some nuggets and combine them with a torch for some reason, making a lantern, just to complete the quest. It was worth it I guess because we get some extra torches as a reward. Up next we can make ourselves a set of armor, to give us a little bit of protection for those nights should we need to venture outside. This is important. As a reward we got some ration packs, which seems to be our only source of food right now. They are very limited. We can claim a few bonus ones from the emergency quest, and that's it. We need to find a food source before they run out. So we can use 2 blocks of not so goodium to craft up a smasher, which can be used to break a 3x3 area. However, if we use it to ultimine, we can break the usual 64 blocks, but it has a lot more durability than pickaxes. That means we need to make less trips back up to the outpost. One smasher gave us 197 chunks, meaning a massive 176 chunk profit. It's a good feeling knowing that we're making progress. But then, the hunger bar's gonna remind us we're not quite there yet. However, at the cost of some time, we can first pulverize these chunks to turn 1 chunk into 2 dust. That'll smelt into 2 ingots, doubling our profit. If we use some ingots to make 2 chests, we can pop one to the side of the furnace for auto output and one by the pulverizer for auto input. For now, there's nothing to do but wait. The quiet hum of machines, the slow process of pulverizing and smelting. A good moment to just sit back, watch the sunrise over the outpost, and let the world run itself for a while. Down in the world, we've got a lot of not so goodium ore, but below that we can find could be better ore, which is the next tier that we are gonna need to mine. And then right at the bottom of the world we have not half badium ore, however we're not gonna be able to mine that just yet. It's currently nighttime, and while I don't doubt my PvE prowess, we don't actually need the experience from the mobs at this time. Instead, we will let the flames deal with the mobs and then hoover up all of their drops. Boosting entity distance in settings will help a lot with being able to see those drops. We'll be needing these items very soon, so it's a good idea to gather them while we're not busy. Let's craft up some vanilla furnaces, which we will then upgrade to a not so goodium version. We can then surround one with 8 blocks of not so goodium to make a quantum collapser. In the collapser, we need to throw in 300 not-so-goodium ingots. That will compress them into a not-so-goodium singularity. Since we're not even close to 300, we are going to put those spare furnaces to use and start smelting down ores just that little bit faster. That is the last of our food, so now all that's left to do is wait. I think this is the first real moment of quiet we've had. It feels kinda nice. I was wrong about the food. We can actually make some broth to help with our hunger, though it's not very good at that. We're gonna need a lot of broth. On a brighter note, we have just enough ingots to start making the singularity, and then 6 more blocks of not-so-goodium later, we can make a tier 1 singularity resource generator. If we take a hopper and plug it into our input chest, and pop the generator on top, throw in the singularity, this is now going to infinitely produce not-so-goodium chunks. And just like that, we don't need to mine tier 1 ores ever again. It's strange how quickly things change. Just a while ago, I was chipping away at every block, scavenging for a handful of ingots. And now, the factory will quietly run in the background, producing more than I'll ever need. It's a good feeling. It's a kind of progress that just sneaks up on you. The next singularity we need to make needs 32 blocks of coal, so it's down to the mines to mine a bunch of tier 1 ores to get those carbon deposits. I know what I just said. 33 is more than 32. Pop those into the compressor, and now we don't need to mine tier 1 ores ever again. That's the coal singularity, and now infinite coal. This, I think, is the start of our snowball to infinite everything. We could also put it into a not-so-goodium singularity power generator for a little bit of power. Try and save that 5 times fast. So let's sit and wait a while for some more ores to smelt down to ingots so we can continue on our journey. We need another coal singularity, and we need to steal one of the advanced energy cubes from our roof. We can borrow some of the extra power cables to reconnect our main machines back to power. That allows us to craft a molecular recycler which we can plug into some power. Up on the roof, we must take one of our advanced solar generators and recycle it into hopefully at least 9 redstone dust. 13 redstone, thank you very much. That's a block of redstone, and that is a power generator we're probably not gonna need. Instead, we're gonna be using the coal singularity to just simply generate coal. Next, we need to craft a quantum transmutation chamber. But we must sacrifice our redstone furnace and ME controller, which kinda makes me sad inside of my soul. If we take the ME controller and replace it with the ME drive, we can at least still use our system like normal. But I really don't want to say goodbye to our redstone furnace just yet. It is so useful, but progression demands sacrifice. We have the transmutation chamber. We can use this to combine or upgrade resources. For example, if we put in 2 sets of not-so-goodium chunks, it'll make could-be-better chunks. 2 could-be-better could combine into not-half-bardium, and 2 of those into wikidium. If we can get 320 of each tier of ingots, we can then make the singularity for that tier to produce infinite amounts. Each tier has its own resource generator, power generator, and even crafting table for some reason. The final tier of ore is that'll do, which is what we should really aim to hit sooner rather than later. In fact, let me see if I can hobble that together real quick. Well, that hobble took a while, but I think we are sorted. The space inside was starting to feel a little cramped, so I've opened it up a little. Bedroom walls gone, cabinets cleared, now there's more room to breathe. More room for whatever comes next. Over here we have 5 resource generators, each with a different tier of ore singularity. They feed into not-half-bardium furnaces, where instead of piping in coal, I've just added in a bunch of coal blocks to help keep them burning. But my friends, we have some big crafting to do now to get all the way down to farming wood. Shall we begin? We combine silica dust and rotten flesh and we get protein paste. We smelt down blocks of silica dust into glass. Once the protein paste is made, we can combine it with some rubidium dust to make some protein fiber. Combining blocks of silica dust and glass will give us sand. If we can make 2 stacks of sand, we can make a singularity. So that's definitely what we're gonna do before using it. Ooh, a chicken from a zombie jockey. No, why did I do that? We could have had eggs. I'm sure more will spawn, so I really won't be too hard on myself. It turns out that was the only chicken to spawn the entire playthrough. Good job, Hobble. That is the sand singularity, so now we have unlimited sand. Next, we'll be making carbon nanotubes, which also has a singularity, so of course we're going to aim for that before we use any for crafting. This is going to be somewhat of a trend for the next little while. Unlock a new item, craft a certain amount of them, and make the singularity. You'll see just how many singularities we get to make later on in the video. You're not going to believe it. If we combine some glass with some coal, we'll get carbon nanotubes, and a stack and a half later we can craft the singularity. Next, we need to combine 1 water bottle and 1 carbon deposit to make 2 cellulose. And with 64 cellulose, you guessed it, singularity. Oh, I forgot that water bottles don't stack. This is going to be a long few minutes. Oh, now that is a spicy bit of automation I didn't see coming. Hoppers work. That's the 64 cellulose, and that is the next singularity. Goodness me, this that'll do generator is crazy fast. Should I be worried about what we might need this for later on? I hope not. But with that side quest complete, let's combine some cellulose with some carbon nanotubes to make a stick. We can then craft 9 sticks into a stick bundle, where we'll transmute that with a block of cellulose to make an oak sapling. Finally, we'll need some dirt, so we'll start by crafting some cellulose carbon, bone meal sand and protein paste into some organically enriched sand. That goes in the transmutation chamber with some protein fibers to make some dirt. If we wanted to do that 128 times, we could make the dirt singularity, but I really don't want to do that right now. We might get some gravel at some point, so we could just duplicate dirt then. A dirt and a sapling. We don't seem to have the twig to grow mod, but running does apply the bone meal to them. Weird, I'll take it. What's nice is though that we do get more saplings from the tree. Sometimes that is disabled, so it's really a relief to see them. Even better though is now that we can craft some storage drawers. Be gone with the chests and say hello to tidy storage drawers. 2,000 items in one easily accessible location. That is the main quests complete for getting started, and now we're on to getting going. Oh, ex nihilo, you cheeky little sausage you. We can only hope that it's one of the good, more forgiving iterations. But first, I'm going to get a bit of wood farming done, as this is going to benefit us in the long term if we kind of get a little bit done now. I use that little break as an opportunity to start generating some resources from our current singularities, so we'll always have some of the items in stock. But let's progress. We can start by making some crooks, which we can use to break leaves on some of our trees. That's going to give us some silkworms, which we can then use to infest some leaves. Yummy apples, where it seems that we do have a spice of life installed that gives us bonus hearts for eating unique food. Cool. We can pop down a 3x3 of oak sieves, and it looks like those leaves are ready to be crooked into string. We'll turn some of that string into mesh. However, we needed a whole 3 apples to move forward with those quests. With that done, we can combine 1 apple and 1 rotten flesh into a rotten apple, but I have no idea why that's part of progression. But now we are all caught up, we can install those mesh into the sieves. Let's see. Oh no! It's the version that we cannot auto-click. My disappointment is measurable, and my day is ruined. Well, we'll start with blocks of silica dust, which will net us some bone meal and some salt. But please, ex nihilo, let me auto-click in single player. It's not fair. You're making me wait. Moving on. An apple and a bottle will combine into apple cider vinegar. We'll craft that with rotten flesh and some salt to make some cured flesh, which at some point we will turn into leather. But we're not quite there just yet. So I guess it is time to do some hammering. Plop down some sand and hammer it to dust. Unfortunately, we can't really make a wand just yet, which does kind of suck, but at least we can use ultimine to hammer them down. 2 stacks of dust later, we can make the dust singularity, so at least we don't need to hammer that anymore. But you guessed it, this dust, it needs to be sifted, and in return we will get bone meal and gunpowder. We can also use the dust to make clay in a barrel of water. 64 clay later, we can make a singularity. Unfortunately, it seems that the clay will give us clay balls. We might be able to fix that later though using compacting drawers. Well, this is gonna hurt a little bit. We must sift a little bit of our dirt. Which remember, 1 dirt is 1 rotten flesh each. Oh, pebbles, of course. We'll need 4 of those to turn them into a block. The diorite, andesite and granite will need to be crushed and eventually sifted. Well, it looks like we are going to need a lot more dirt so we can make that singularity. Wait a minute, I wonder if this works. Ex nihilo should in theory be able to turn leaves into dirt. Amazing, it works exactly as intended. And that was actually quite painless in the end. Thank goodness I remembered about that recipe. You take 64 leaves and 8 barrels, and then you can just auto-click to empty them and fill them very quickly. That means we are now safe to use lots of dirt on the sieves, but I think soon we're going to be adding more sieves to this to make it a 5x5, since 3x3 is a little bit slow. And it turns out that we are going to need a lot more of these generators, so I think soon we are going to get these moved outside and set up a little bit more properly. But next, we can hammer those new blocks to crush them, and then use them with clay to make some aggregates. Clay plus bone meal is porcelain, porcelain plus aggregate is the crucible. I can't help but notice that the quests aren't completing again. Because we need to hold gravel? I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not exactly sure on how to get gravel just yet, so I'm just gonna dig through some menus and we will be right back. Carbon nanotubes plus gunpowder will give us redstone dust. Crafted with the gold and an infused alloy that we got earlier, we can make 2 energy tablets. Sifting blocks of cellulose will give us a variety of saplings, and if we harvest some dark oak, we can craft everything together to make a drying cupboard. If we supply it with some power and some aggregate, we can finally get the gravel that we so deeply desire. We'll need 2 stacks to make a singularity. It looks like there's some work to do. Not the most fun thing, but at least now we've moved all of our resource generators outside since we're going to be getting a lot more of them. Oh, and instead of sifting dirt all the time, we can just make those block singularities, which I don't need to tell you is so much nicer. And since we've unlocked clay, it can be smelted into terracotta, which can then be turned into Hobble botany pots. These simple little pots are an auto farm for all manner of plants. This part is a little tough. We need 160 of each vanilla ingot. We take a stone wand, we build a tower of 3, and then run backwards. Just before it breaks, we swap to a new wand, and more running backwards. Next, we use a blackstone hammer plus some ultimine, and we hammer the first 64 blocks, and then the next, and so on. Just need to remember to eat, which cooked silkworm is our current food of choice, mostly because it's stackable. We can then use that crushed andesite on our 25 sieves, which have been upgraded to flint mesh, and 1.5 minutes later we can collect all of those ore pieces, compress them down, and through around 10 minutes of work, we are a quarter of the way there. It is small, repetitive tasks like this that really give you perspective. We are putting in all of the hard work now, so later on, we can have the factory do this for us. It's an investment in our future, you might say. We've got the 160 tin ingots to submit for collapsing, but there's still quite a few ores to get through. And it seems that we do get ores from those singularities, so we are going to need to work out an auto smelting system for all of these ingots. But first, I need to sift more crushed andesite, granite, and crushed diorite. That's going to give me plenty of time to just zone out and think about how on earth we are going to set up some auto smelting. Of course, there is still the leather to make, which was the cured flesh thrown into a drying cupboard. That of course needed a lot of apple cider vinegar, and the easiest way to get apples is via an apple tree. Who would have thought it, eh? It's easily craftable with 8 apples and a sapling. We will use some of that leather to make our very first backpack. Ah dear. We are going to need to craft every single backpack upgrade later on. I feel bad for future Hobble. I'd say that now it is time that we start looking into a little bit of the create mod. Hopefully so we can try and set up some auto sifting. For that though, we are going to need some andesite alloy, which means first we are going to need the zinc singularity. But I think now I'm going to go and take a break and try and work out that auto smelter. I do find it difficult to both talk and think sometimes, and sometimes a break is good. It's very simple, but sometimes the best solutions often are. During that break, I decided to just grind out all of the other ingots that we were missing, and they are all set up for smelting in the same way as before with blocks of coal. We've also got some blank furnaces set up, ready for that next tier of singularities like iron and gold. It also turns out that there's a log singularity, which was a really nice discovery to make. In the backpack, I've gotten together some items for create, ready to tackle the next chapter. We just need to make up some nickel plates so we can make a propeller, and that's the encased fan. Washing is now unlocked. Fan goes here, leaves in front and a depot. We'll put a water wheel on the back, remove the leaves real quick so we can see which side we need to place the water to make the fan blow. Waterlog the leaves, and we can now start by washing some gravel. Slowly. That's going to turn into a few iron nuggets and quite a bit of flint. This is our first iron ingot, a monumental milestone. But of course, we are going to need to make 160 of these so we can make a singularity. I'd better get started. Well, it was a very slow process, so I have now expanded out the gravel washer just a little bit. Just keep in mind that you will need a gear ratio to make it blow further, but at least now this system is working at a reasonable speed. We could have done something with belts and funnels, but I really don't think we need to wash anything else, so it didn't really seem worth the time investment. But a short time later, we now have the iron singularity. Using the fired crucible from earlier, placed on top of a torch, if we throw in some granite, it'll turn into lava. We can then place the lava over here in this temporary cobblestone generator, and we can use that cobble to make a cobble singularity. Once melted, we can use the stone to make a stone barrel, which unlocks a very easy way to make obsidian. We can also use the redstone on lava to make some netherrack, since the nether isn't going to be accessible until endgame. We can use one of those netherrack to make a fire to speed up our lava production. Since we have iron, we can use a fluid pump from Immersive Engineering, supplying it with a redstone signal. Barrel here, pipe in the middle. Using an engineer hammer, we can set the side config, crouch right clicking to change the opposite side to input. That's automated lava sorted. Then using hoppers we can feed in the redstone, and then eventually glowstone later to make some endstone. It looks like our best bet for redstone and glowstone is sifting. So let me see if I can hobble together some automation for that. It ain't pretty, but it works. Like me. We have gone mad with gear ratios to speed it up, all powering a sifter with an iron mesh installed. We have got a max tier generator making all of the dust, and it all gets sifted and goes into this iron barrel. Plenty of redstone, plenty of glowstone, and we can now start to generate some endstone with our lava. That's because we can now make the netherrack singularity, and that's another singularity ticked off of the never-ending list. Now we can send some of that netherrack through a millstone and start sifting for some new resources like gold. On second thoughts, we can just automate sifting that as well. Why do the work when we don't have to? That is, after all, what this factory is going to be all about. A short while later, we have enough gold for the singularity. With some automation already under our belt, it is time to move on to some more quest progression. It is time that we make up some coke bricks and dive a little more into some immersive engineering. Boop. One coke oven. Pop in some coal, and then die a little inside because, as always, this machine is slower than mining bedrock. Well, there's always plenty of work to be done, so while we wait, we can put together the alloy furnace. This is where we can combine copper and nickel into Constantan, and iron and nickel into Invar. And you guessed it, 160 of each of those will give us a singularity. The best part now though is we can now make an induction smelter. In here we'll put in some iron, carbon nanotubes, and that'll do ingots. A new resource has been unlocked, osmium. A decade later we can use some buckets to pull out that creosote oil, which we can surround with planks to make treated wood. And with that we have now unlocked the Getting Mechanized questline. Thankfully, no antimatter needed. Oh, it appears that we have also unlocked the AE2 questline. So we can now start to upgrade our system and enable some auto crafting and bigger storages. Industrial foregoing, where we need to go through the annoying effort of getting just one bucket of Ethernet gas, which is a new pet peeve of mine. And we've unlocked power, which as always is exactly the same as it always is. We are gonna need diamonds, so let's start sifting some gravel with our iron mesh to get those wheels in motion. Oh, in order to make a sticky piston for AE2, we are gonna need a slime ball or two. Thankfully, we do have Create installed, so we can just use dough to make them. Though to get seeds, we are going to need grass. So with water in a spout, we can squirt it onto some dirt to make some grass blocks. We can pop that in with our dirt and it will slowly start to spread, like this video through the algorithm. We can bone meal that, break the grass, seeds will drop. It's quite funny how we can take the simplest resources for granted. I never thought that I would have been this happy to see grass blocks in our world. We can send that wheat through a millstone and that'll give us the wheat flour, which we can craft with some water to make some dough. Combined with lime green dye, that's our slime balls. And now of course we are going to need a charger. Plonk. We can smelt skystone dust into skystone, and then we smelt that skystone into skystone blocks. Those skystone blocks can then be sifted. That's going to give us a small chance of getting Certus quartz crystals. They go into the charger and give us charged Certus quartz. But before we can go any further, we are going to need to find a source of regular old Minecraft quartz. It looks like we'll be washing a little soul sand. Or we can sieve it with a diamond mesh, which actually might be easier. To get soul sand, we need to sift silica blocks in a diamond mesh to give us mycelia spores. That'll allow us to make mycelium, which we can use to make witch water. We can then use that one soul sand to haunt more sand into soul sand. Sand. That is the mycelia spores. Use it on some indoor dirt and a barrel placed on top. We'll fill it with some water, patiently wait for it to convert, and then sand in for soul sand out. It looks like it is time to set up a little bit of haunting. I'll see you in just a little bit. So we are now working with 3 auto sieves, one for gravel, one for crushed netherrack, and one for dust. Dust was because we needed more redstone, and of course once we had 160 we could go ahead and make the singularity. I was surprised that I missed that earlier. The reason that we'll keep it running is that it is an easy source of blaze powder, which I think we're going to need quite a bit of later. And to prevent overfilling this barrel, we have got a void upgrade and a stack upgrade installed. Right now we are voiding everything that's an overflow, except for blaze powder, which is allowed to take up multiple slots. Now gravel, that's going to be our source of uraninite and fluorite, but thinking about it, I bet there's going to be a singularity for those as well. There is for osmium, so that's another singularity being made. Real quick, do you want early access to videos before they go live on YouTube, and access to world downloads on Discord? If you do, then consider becoming a channel member down below. Okay, while we're here, we may as well get the Electrum singularity made up too. And now, it's on to Mekanism. If we put coal and iron into an infuser, we will get enriched iron. If we send the enriched iron back through again with the coal, we'll get steel grit. Then redstone plus iron will give us infused alloy. Oh, and I forgot to mention that we now have emeralds and diamonds automated. We're also now using smart chutes because they can move 64 items at a time. It is very speedy. What's interesting now is that we can use the pipes mod, since we now have access to steel ingots. I don't think we're going to need them right now, but I think they're going to be quite vital when it comes to redesigning our base. So redstone plus osmium gets us the basic control circuits, and we can now craft an enrichment chamber, energized smelter, precision sawmill, and a crusher. And now we need to wait a few more minutes so it's back to 82. Let's throw some quartz, charred certus, and redstone into a puddle, and that's going to make some fluix quartz. The sticky pistons from earlier can be used to craft an inscriber. I guess we can remove the subscribe sign now since you're already definitely subscribed. Right? Yeah, okay, I did put this sign here for that specific call to action. Sue me. We need blocks of quartz, certus, gold, and diamond. And now we must sacrifice our ME drive for an engineering processor, our ME crafting terminal for the calculation processor, and the ME terminal for the logic processor. We are now without digital storage, and I am sad. We'll transmute the engineering processor with a diamond block to make the engineering press, calculation and certus for the calculation press, the logic and the gold for the logic press, and it does look like we have got the updated applied Energistics installed, which is what we all love to see now. So it should be nice and quick to get through making all of those circuits. Smelting certus quartz dust is how we're getting silicon, which is what we'll use to make the printed silicon. The final task will be combining that with our circuits to make the processors. So now is a great time to just sit back, relax, and watch the world do its thing. So I ended up making a diamond barrel with a crafting upgrade inside in order to do the crafting that little bit easier. That is the ME drive, ME terminal, and the crafting terminal. We are back. So I did end up setting up some basic automation for those processors because I wanted to watch the end of my movie. We can now reinstall our ME system and life is good once again. The best part is now we can make higher tier storages and use it to its full potential. We can now also auto-craft with pattern providers and molecular assemblers. Well, we don't really have the space for it, but it's definitely going to work for now. The big base redesign is coming very soon. More importantly, the inscribers are now fully automated, making life so much easier. Well, except for silicon, but we can just bulk craft that as and when needed. Now don't forget that for any auto crafting you will need at least one co-processing unit and a crafting storage. Up here we have got automated obsidian, and why we need that will become obvious real soon. We pull netherrack into the magma crucible to make lava, which then goes into a blast chiller to make the obsidian. You can turn 2 snow blocks into ice to make that blast chiller, if you're curious. But if we head out of the main doors, you will see that I have been a little bit busy. Firstly, all of these storage drawers are now hooked up to our digital storage. The biggest change though is I have started to turn the surrounding snow into some lovely grass. Now let's use some of that obsidian we automated to make some necessary void upgrades. These will go into our resource drawer so we don't end up clogging up the system when we put items back into it. Unbelievably, we have almost every singularity. We are just missing the platinum, which we can get from sifting gravel in a netherite mesh on a brass sifter. We have nether scrap and gold, we have netherite ingots. We just need a that'll do smithing template and that's our netherite mesh. That's the brass sifter, overstressed. Story of my life. Yeah, I think this is gonna need a little expansion. Or it could wait until a big base rebuild coming soon. For now, we do have the platinum pieces and that's put an end to our singularity production. We can now reap the benefits of all of the hard work and just watch as the resources flow in. This is a good start for a redesign, a simple corridor with all of our generated resources, while keeping in theme of the overall outpost vibe. I'm currently in the process of emptying out all of our old drawers. They have the wrong textures, so I'm dumping them into the system to go into the new drawers with the right textures. It's the simple things that matter the most to me. All of the ingots are in compacting drawers, and they are being fed by a somewhat janky furnace system tucked away in a side room. It's not pretty, but it's a harsh reminder that no matter how good you are at the game, there's always a chance that a build may not go as you first intended. The only update is that they're now all being fed by a coal singularity. And in typical Hobble fashion, I am utilising trees again to block the sight lines to the distant lands. This makes the area that needs decorating a lot more manageable. So let me keep cooking on this base design, and we'll be back with a tour in 3, 2, 1. We have got a new room at the end of the corridor, and I figured it might be interesting to make it spherical. I've also made a little start on power, but sadly since we don't have modular routers, we've had to go for some vanilla automation until we get something set up more permanently. We are going to be sticking to a hardened reactor for now, since that's still far more power than we need. Mekanism has advanced slightly too, with diamonds going into an enrichment chamber and then into an infuser to make reinforced alloy. And the outside is now just a wide open space. I'm not really sure what to do with the botany pots just yet, so they're just going to chill here for a while. And after a little more mechanism, we've now got the atomic alloys crafting, and that is one ultimate control circuit. It's at this point I'm not entirely sure which is the next quest chapter. In order to unlock the end, we need Enderium ingots, niotic crystals, and a rainbow core. How unexpected. We will need to work through every tier of furnace just for kicks and giggles. We will need magma cream, which we can make from slime balls, which can now be made from biomass with Mekanism. So that's good. The more frustrating part is making all of the stained glass. At least the Enderium was nice and easy. Though at 40 seconds each, that really is quite mean. So we've got a schematic set up for the next room in our outpost, since there's no point in building it twice. Of course, I did forget to include the floor, so we are going to have to use the exchanging gadget later just to fix that. 1,163 concrete bricks, originally placed by hand like a boss. Thank you, Mr. Cannon. You are very useful. Jumping onto FreeCam, we can see the weird shape that I have settled on. I find it to be quite a fun challenge to build in weird shapes. Ooh, I just found something cheesy. And you know how much I love a little cheese. Forget item duplication. We're about to triplicate. 1 item in, 3 items out. Moving forward, I feel like we are going to probably need a lot of netherite ingots. We could keep sifting for it at a less than 1% chance, but that's boring. If we craft some netherite scrap with some excess obsidian, we will get ancient debris. We'll put 2 stacks into a drawer connected to a crusher. 1 debris turns into 3 dirty netherite scrap, 1 dirty scrap into 1 normal scrap, so 1 netherite scrap will turn into 3, for the cost of some easy to get obsidian. It's cheeky, and I love it. So, I have taught the recipes for each of the iron furnaces, and we now just need to go through the process of holding 1 of each item. Success! That is everything for the rainbow core. Quest complete. We need the rainbow furnace, of course we do. Why must this be so? More recipes taught. It wasn't as bad as I expected. Oh yeah, dense smart cables are so dang expensive on wool, so you were definitely going to want to spam down an industrial hemp seed farm just anywhere. You need a lot of them. So, pattern provider, energizing orb in front, setting the provider to lock until the craft is finished, and then we can just use pipes to take the finished product back into the provider. We can then spam out a few energizing rods, and the cycle can begin. We have 3 rods, so we need to make 6 capacitors each time to upgrade them to the next tier. Such wow, much fun. All the way to spirited, because the Nitro needs nether stars, and I'm not about that life. It didn't take too long, but auto-crafting the spirited reactor did take quite a hot minute. So while it was running, I went through and crafted every single jetpack for the quests. What's deafening is that once you get past steel, everything is an optional quest. So every time you complete one, it triggers the advancement sound. It was pain. My poor ears. But our emerald jetpack is now slowly charging in a tinker's workbench. At some point we will go for wireless player charging with the power mod, but I'm not ready to do any more power just yet. So instead, let's progress. Cinnabar plus apatite will give us amethyst crystals, which we will use to make some warp stones. That's what we need to make waystones, which will be our exit from the end. Next up, we need to use the niotic crystals and Invar to make the cryogenic dimensional teleporter. We then need to request the system makes an energized endstone brick, which uses that rainbow core from earlier. We can pop down the teleporter, and we can't pick it up again. Yeah, okay, make sure to read the bright red text in the quest description. It's fine, we can make this work. After hooking up some power, we can add in our energetic endstone, but before we head through, let's look through some quests that we must complete. We have completely skipped out chapter 2, which has us craft a ton of Pam's HarvestCraft seeds, and at least 4 of the Pam special foods. Then there's genetic modification to make eggs, which we will then modify goop into animal spawn eggs. So let us work through some of the seeds together as a team building exercise. 1 cactus, 1 sugarcane for 1 cantaloupe seed. 1 bamboo, 1 fern for a kale seed. 1 fern, 1 cactus for an agave seed. 1 bamboo, 1 carrot for an okra seed. 1 potato, 1 sugarcane for a sweet potato seed. 1 wheat seed, 1 bamboo for an asparagus seed. 1 carrot, 1 potato for a parsnip seed. 1 poisonous potato and a wheat for a rye seed. A carrot and a wheat for a corn seed. We have now technically completed this chapter, but of course I will need to make the others for that 100% completion. Fair play to the pack developer though for having the patience to go sit down and make all of these recipes work. I might not be saying that though once I'm done. We have now unlocked dirtying the dishes, where we need to make up a bunch of Pam's foods. We're also going to need all of the utensils for Pam's, as they are required for all of the food crafts. A grinder, a skillet, a mixing bowl, a saucepan, a pot, a roller, a juicer, and some bakeware. And we need to make 5 foods, so let me see which is the easiest. Flour, dough, bread, pasta, an apple juice, and an apple smoothie. Need more sweet berry juice, sweet berry smoothie, cocoa powder, no cow so nothing milk based yet, cooking oil, marshmallows, success! Of course, for 100% I will need to make all of the others. Yay! We have unlocked ditching up the meat, where it's going to take us through making an egg. The reason we are doing all of this is that we need to fight the dragon. Dragons need arrows, arrows need feathers, we get feathers from chickens. We do have some from skeleton drops, but really not that many at all. So we are back to making protein paste, which we can combine with some wickidium dust to make protein fibers. We can recycle some bones to get ribonucleic acid, or RNA for short. Combining RNA and protein paste, we get primordial goop. Primordial goop plus protein fibers, that's going to give us a deoxyribonucleic acid, or DNA for short. Yeah, I smashed that, didn't I? We can combine DNA with some bone meal, and that is the albumin created. We can then dry that into an egg, though I'm not really sure the science is right on that one. Witchwater, seed, primordial goop, egg, and RNA. We've got ourselves a chicken spawn egg. The idea being now that we can use the eggs from here to make more spawn eggs. Next, we'll need to tackle making sheep. Egg, skystone, wool, and gloop. That's the sheepy spawn egg. Next, it gets a little tricky as we need a pig spawn egg, but it does require raw mutton. That means we are going to need a second sheep egg so we can breed them together to be able to get that raw mutton. Last on the list is the cow spawn egg, and at least this one is reasonable. I guess I'd better get a little bit of crafting done. Let's see how many animals I can conjure up. Well, we have got the animals. And that is another set of quests happily completed. At some point we will need to craft the other animals, but I'm covered in gloop right now, so we're going to tackle those a little bit later. We do now have wireless player charging using the player transmitter, and to make it cross-dimensional you just use the binding card on an enderman, and then you just throw it in the transmitter. That is going to charge our electric bow and our jetpack. So let us go to the end. Waystone down so we can come and go as we please. And dragon. Mute please. The next generation. Nice. It is time for us to go on a remote getaway. Instantly to the biome that we need to find. Nice. Hey, buddy. Ah, you're hostile. We need some crystals. Oh gosh, more hostiles. Weird cubes with shooty laser darts. So we are looking for dimensional shard or some exploring items like this azure stem. We also need to find an end city with a ship. Well, that's an end city, but there's no ship. May as well grab those shulker shells while we are here though. Promising... what? Where's the rest of the ship? That's better. One dragon head and one elytra. I have no idea what this blue maze thingy is, but it does have an end portal. Strange. If this video gets 15,000 likes, I'll light this portal and I will upload the test results. I do have to remember to do those call to actions after all. Back home we can make the shulker box, and I guess we are now on to the Nether. Oh yeah. I need to set up sifting for endstone so we can get some dimensional shards that we've seen earlier. It looks like I've got quite a bit to organize and work out. Confession time. I have a guilty pleasure that I like to indulge upon occasionally, and that is making food in a Minecraft kitchen. I would happily spend a week setting up a field of varying crops that would automatically be harvested so I could make and sell food for profit. What if villagers working as farmhands could be assigned to plots for a weekly fee? They would just remove the weeds and apply bone meal for a boosted growth. What if the market mod had a supply and demand feature to it, changing the prices and the need of each item? The Farming Crossing series did touch on it a little bit, but it wasn't quite there for me. I don't know. New currency mods are coming out all of the time, so who knows what the future holds for us modded Minecraft players. It really is quite fun to me, especially with the whole farming of the items, and it's a thing that I enjoy. The quests have us make food, and that is what reminded me that such a simple little task is quite enjoyable to my brain. However, to make all of the food for those quests, we will have to make nearly every single palm seed. So I guess the quests kinda come full circle. For now, we can eat a basic burger and huzzah! More hearts. Not exactly sure why we need more hearts though, as there's not really any boss fights here. Just chill vibes. This is going to be a lot of crafting two items together, but I have prepared a little garden so we have somewhere to plant them once we're done. I have started by making sure that we have tons of the original seeds that we made, since these are all going to be used to make the next tier. We have infinite bone meal, so duplicates are really easy. And we finally have AE2 set up properly. And now inside we have some permanent sifting going on for endstone and dust. The endstone is for dimensional shards and pearls, and the dust gives us all of these goodies down here. As for progression, we can make up the shulker shield and teach the recipe for the energized nether bricks. Craft complete. We now need to place down a new blue top hat, and of course send it some power temporarily. Waystone in hand, let's go and check out the underworld of Minecraft. Welcome to the Nether. Crimson Forest. This spawn location is better than every single portal location I've ever had. Why can't they all be like this? It looks like we are here just for some basic nether things like fortresses and skulls and all that. Well, that's the fortress, and 6 skellies and no skull. Honestly, this is one of my least favourite tasks to do in vanilla Minecraft. We're on fire now. 1 singular wither skull. Are we winning? At least 2 more and we can get the nether star. But I think I'm going to go back to my farmland for a bit, since Lady Luck really isn't on my side right now. And farming, well, that's a nice and peaceful life in Minecraft. Well, that was a mammoth task. Was it worth it? No. Does it look cool? No. Okay, a little cool. We also have a Hobble gate to the outside world. I didn't know how to segue to that, so I guess this is it. But our outpost is starting to look pretty cool. I would say that we have definitely given this place a glow up, and the next person stranded here will be set for life. And I'm sure by now you all know how much I love benches. Benches are awesome. This is how many seeds needed to be crafted. And not only that, I also went through all of the trees, that way we can get everything we need for the food chapter. And because of that, we could craft one of the best foods possible in this mod pack. 22 chicken legs and 53 saturation. But honestly, if I never see this machine again, it will be too soon. The last thing to do here is tick to complete, and that sound used to be cool. Now I hear it in my sleep. I did notice that there is a chapter to make sweet rolls, but I think we can just cheese this by holding the items required, rather than actually building it. But okay, it is time for a pet peeve. We need to go through almost all of Industrial Foregoing, the entire mod pretty much, just to get a single bucket of ether gas. It is like a cheat code for pack developers to force players to interact and go through an entire mod. And it is the same with Mekanism, where you just request us to make antimatter just for the final craft. It is always the same progression loop, and it really isn't necessary. Be nice to us for a change, please. Rant over. Extract latex from an acacia log, grab out the latex and put it into the processor with some water. 750 millibuckets into 1 dry rubber. That smelts to plastic. Quest complete. That lets us craft the dissolution chamber, which we can pop down on a pattern provider and teach the recipe for a simple machine frame. Temporary fluid tank to give the system access to some latex, and that is a simple machine frame made. Oh, how I wish that was all we had to do with this mod. That sound was far too premature. Holy mob farm, Batman! We can make the mob slaughter factory. But now I am going to take a little break because I'm feeling a little bit frustrated by being forced to do this. It is okay for you to take a break when things get a little bit much. You will come back with a fresh set of eyes to deal with the problems that you faced. That is latex automation. We've got the dissolution chambers, and this time round we are just making plastic on demand rather than stockpiling it. And they all have the add-ons to make them speedy and efficient. Behind here we have some pink slime and liquid meat. And I bet you're curious about where the mob farm is. Well, the whole world is the mob farm. I've illuminated the area around us, except for the area in front of the mob slaughter factory. Without cursed earth, a dark room would be far too slow. And I guess there is mechanical dirt, but it is still quite slow in my experience. There are no caves in this world. And the building gadget has a staggered mode, so placing torches is really easy. And the only spawnable spots are right here. Now I guess we could put a roof on it to make it 24 hours, but I doubt we need that many since we only need a little pink slime, and I kinda just went a bit overboard with it. Just enough to make the advanced machine frame needed for the stasis chamber, which is where we're gonna spawn the wither for the ether gas. Then once that's done, we can remove the wither with the mob crusher. Let's do this thing. 10% of the way there already. Such a silly little task really. We will need a little for the wither builder that we're forced to make, even though there's no way to automate wither skulls, so it's kinda pointless having a wither builder. 1 ether gas bucket. Quest complete. Turn off the stasis chamber, and that's the nether star. Nice. 1 supreme machine frame, and 1 waste of a nether star. Nice. At least that's the end of industrial foregoing. Winning again. We're on to extended crafting next, and you thought we were done with singularities. Oh no, my friends, there's even more. We are running out of slots in the auto crafter, and instead of making a new one, I think I'm just going to manually craft up the crafting tables. Elite and ultimate. We are not going to bother making it an auto table though, as I don't think we're going to need it. Especially since the crystalline needs 2 nether stars for 4 ingots. No thank you. We're also going to need the quantum compressor, so we'll now need to submit 2,000 of nearly every ingot, plus diamonds, emeralds and redstone. We have infinite of everything, so this is just going to be a move item from container A to container B. That's the first one. Let me get the rest of them together and we can move on to the final chapter. That's the one and only ultimate singularity we need. Now we're also going to need a 3rd type of singularity, and this time it's from Applied Energistics. The developer really went all out with them. Is this them taking the mickey out of other mod packs that go hard on demanding insane amounts of them? Who knows? We need a blaze lantern, which does need dimensional shard ore, so just bring silk touch to the nether for that. Let's hold some nitro crystals for the quest and request a nitro capacitor. We'll need an energized block of that'll-do-vium, and my friends, we are ready to leave the outpost and return to our home planet. Before we do that, let's craft up some vinegar. Chapter complete. A nitro energizing rod. Chapter complete. A flint and steel. Chapter complete. Peel, flint and steel and singularity. Boom. Chapter complete. The final quest. Chapter complete. Now what do we want? I guess a creative item cell will be the most beneficial to the next person who is stranded here. Looks like this dully passive mob egg quest to finish. And for this end armor quest, the only place to find the smithing template is in the mazes that we seen earlier. Finally! Thank goodness! Cobalt helmet, boots, leg and chest, 1 popped chorus fruit and chapter complete. Now we still need 5 more nether stars for the Quack Quack quest line, so 15 more wither skulls. Send help instantly. Bread on a depot with milk, that gives us the sweet rolls. Tick, tick, chapter complete. That's the 5 stars done, and the final upgrade for chapter complete. Only the spawn eggs remain. Goop, egg, glowstone, snow, polar bear, snow, coal, goop, egg, coal block, panda, bone, steak, goop, egg, wolf, cod, string, goop, egg, kitty, lead, albumin, goop, egg, llama, sweet berries, chicken, goop, egg, foxy no-tail, golden carrot, carrot, goop, egg, rabbit, mushroom, mushroom, goop, egg, mushroom. It's on the final turtle craft. I somehow managed to stop recording, so I did miss the final chapter completed. But that's okay. That's every single story quest and optional quest completed to 100%. As mentioned, we have skipped over the tutorial quests as they are specifically made to introduce new players to those mods, like how to use XNet or applied Energistics. They are pretty good tutorials, so if you are looking to learn some of those mods, have a look yourself. But just like that, we're done. Every quest, every optional challenge, all of it complete. The machines are now running on their own, making more resources than I will ever need. It's funny, this whole outpost started as a cold, empty shell, just a collection of metal and machines in the middle of nowhere. But somewhere along the way, it became something more. A place that feels lived in. A place that works, even when I don't. I could stay here forever, tending to my crops, letting resources pile up. But that's not how these things go. The journey was never about the numbers, the storage, or even the automation. It was about getting here. And now, it's time to go. We're home. If you enjoyed this, then leave a like, maybe subscribe, and share it with someone who might like this kind of thing. And who knows, maybe we'll do it all over again in another world, another factory, another mod pack. But for now, I think I'll just sit here for a while and listen to the ocean waves.